Hey everyone, happy Friday. It's time for another Manfred Mentors today. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to prepare the release notes for Trino Gateway 17. It's a bit overdue, but because I wanted to get this Manfred Mentors going, took me a bit longer to get ready for that. But let's go and get that going. And then maybe we can work towards a release next week with the rest of the team. So let me show you what I got for now. Actually, let's go like this. So here we go. First off, this is my contributions tracker where I kind of like try to track my open source work, and you see the current tasks here is, well, there's more than I can handle, but essentially this one, Trino Gateway Release 17, is what we're going to work on. What that means is we need to prepare a pull request in the documentation for Trino Gateway, similar to this one. And you can see here what it has: description, bunch of things, and it importantly has two commits. One of them that update the quick starts guide, and then one that creates the release note. So let's get that going for first step. So I'm going to go jump over here. I already have my GitHub repository of Trino Gateway ready to roll. Let me make this a bit bigger. Sure, you can read this all. It's pretty darn big for me here. So I'm going to check out a new branch, and it doesn't really matter what the branch name is, but just for consistency, I'm going to keep it the same as I've done here. And the branch was called RN16, so just whatever. Git, I'm using my alias here, git checkout branch that I've created, and just go RN17. Easy enough, right? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to check what this change was last time. And it's actually super simple. It's just setting the version variable in this little test script that we have. So that's darn easy. So I'm just going to go and look at the script. It's called Quick Start. In the Trino Gateway repository here on my local checkout, there's a docs folder. And there's the Quick Start file. And right here is this version. I check in is to 17. Save it. In Trino, in general, we want to separate our commits from how they're relevant. And this is obviously the change of the quick start guide is separate from the release note. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing the same thing as last time, and that will make it easier. Git s, so git status, git add dot git commit minus m. So the message and the commit message is this, but for 17. Oops, 17. Git push, creates a new branch, and we can already start this by going git push, start the pull request here, and we'll for now just call this work in progress. We could also do a draft and whatever, but like this is how we do it. And you notice actually this is kind of wrong because it just uses, because it's only one commit, it uses the commit message from this. But ultimately we're going to have multiple commits. So actually I'm going to change this to use the same title as last time for consistency, because we're going to add another commit. I could also like do this in different order, but this is clean. And the rest we'll also do later as we go, and we'll just create this pull request. So first step done. We have a pull request that takes this. I'm going to copy this URL and throw it into my task here. Oops. Hello. I don't know why this is not letting me. Interesting. Oh, there it does. Let's do this one. All right. Here you go. In progress now. Comment this just to keep track where we're at. This is more for myself. You don't really need to do this in an open source project if you're on your own, but like generally, if you are working on an open source project, it's always good to sort of like create visibility for what other people, like what you are doing and what other people are doing. That way you don't step on each other's feet and do things double and like basically be more efficient. This is just for me though. I could also have this in a separate issue on the Trino Gateway repository itself here. But what we found is that I'm pretty much running with this, so there's no need to put it here. I've been doing this for a while. So I might as well keep doing it because it's fun. So what we need to do is now, of course, we need to get the second commit going, right? And also for making that going, we have to like add some of this information. So what I'll do is I just go edit, copy this from last time, because this kind of defines the process. And for anyone going forward who wants to see what was happening, it's useful to have this information. So let's paste this in and read this here. Assemble the release notes for Trino Gateway 17, obviously, and adjust the rest of the docs to version 17, right? Release date is set to be planned. Date following our monthly release cadence. That's aspirational, let's just call it. We want to release regularly, but unfortunately it hasn't been that common. Helm chart release to merge out. This is to be done. This is necessary because when we release in this repository, we release binaries in a Docker container, but we don't update the Helm chart in this repository. It moved into the separate charts repository. So I'm gonna just do this, leave this here, the number, oh, sorry. Yeah. No. Yeah, so this is to be done. Release notes, not user visible. And then this is the format for how this works. We basically, for every pull request track that was merged, we track the number and did we take care of the release notes or not and what date it was. So in order to do that, we have to just figure out when the first like changes came even through, right? So let's look at that for starters. In order to do that, I'll just go over here and look at the commits. And you see this is our commit history. And the last release was happening here on the 17th. So I can now go through and change this to be up to date. So I'm going to show you side by side what I'm looking at and what I'm editing. So here we say the first change. There's various ways to do this. You could just use labels, do it all at once and stuff like that. I just found that it's a bit easy if you just keep track of it manually. Because that way you can do some, walk away, the next day you know where the hell you left off, and others can also follow along. So there's one on the 19th. I could check here which PR this is and do that already. And this was PR 76, so I'll go star hash 767. And this one just removes Will from the doc, so he unfortunately is no longer available. So we can say release are done and docs are done. So we can go the release notes. We took care of it in the sense that, well, we didn't need to add a separate line in the release notes about that. It's like an administrative thing. And then also the docs was done in the sense that we don't need to do any more documentation for this specific feature. So we can already update this basically. And this is our first sort of like entry. All right. So from the overall history of what has been done so far, this is already one day taken care of. And now we just go and keep doing that. So let's make this in a batch a bit. So what I'll do is I'll go 30th of September. Then we had first of October. And then, and we just go through this. It shouldn't be too many. So we have the 9th of October. We have the 24th of October, the 29th. And you see it's not that active, unfortunately, but that's what it is. Oops, 30th of October, and then the 3rd of November, and that's already it. So not too many. And we can discuss in the next developer sync, which is every second Wednesday in the morning for me. if we want to move towards a release. We already decided there's a couple of things we want to include if we can, but nevertheless, we need to make those release notes ready. So that's already it. I'm always a bit overly cautious, so I go and save this. You could maintain this separately and then paste it in later, but not to worry. So let's look at this one. Update the PostgreSQL JDBC driver to 42. This is a super minimal change. Nothing there to be done. There's no docs update necessary because that doesn't change the compatibility or anything like that. So it's just 79 and we're done already. Now we look at pin the Trino version in the test cluster. Most likely this is also, here we're pinning this, 774. And again, this is just a test change, like a class in like a change in a test class. Doesn't have an impact on the project also itself in the sense that doesn't create any incompatibilities or whatever. So no release notes is necessary for the users. Now let's look at this one. 770. Throw exception when failed parse backend URL config. So you see this is the PR. And according to the contributor and the merging maintainers, this is not user visible. And I was one of the reviewer, you was the other, and I think we agree that like this is literally just like an exception that's being thrown with some more useful error message rather than logging an error, which is useful, but like for the user, it typically doesn't have any impact. And again, this was on the 1st of October, so I should fix this up going up here. And again, release notes are good, docs are good, we don't need any. So next one is this one. Same, this is just a super small cleanup, so we can just go. This is a small cleanup from Yuya, which is awesome. This one was 770. So in fact, if you look at this, this is from the same PR. Yuya pushed a commit into this other PR. So maintainers can do that. So in fact, here, I don't need to do nothing. So this goes like that. We're staying with the same one. So taken care of all these. Now let's go to this big PR from Mateusz. So I'm guessing this is all one PR with separate commits. So 779. Oops. 779. Cool. And as he's mentioning here, this does not keeps this just like updates a whole bunch of dependencies. It's not it's not user facing. The only thing is we're now using UBI 10 as 10 micro as the base of the Docker image. So it's not completely user facing, but it's probably worth mentioning. So what are we going to do is we're going to add a release notes entry for that. So this is 779. Theoretically, I could go and put X here for now, but I'm going to add this right now. So I'm going to save this. And we got to the meat and potatoes of actually adding the release notes entry. So this is release notes, right? Like, so same location, release notes. And I can basically go in here to make it simple. I am going to just copy the whole kit and caboodle here. That's probably more than I need, but you see this is the last release notes and it's just marked down in this here. So we don't have any specific UI changes yet. So I'm just gonna leave TBD here to be done. And we also gonna just do this. I'll remove everything, just about leave one behind. And then the important aspect is this changing this. So this is Trino Gateway 17, unknown, sometime in November at this stage. the tag for the bookmarking here, and anchor is 17. Now we have to change the file name. This is 17. And then this is the URL in Maven Central, and it uses the Maven coordinates here. So you see 17 as a folder name, and then also 17 as the name within the jar. Container image, same idea again, 17 source code on GitHub. Again, the files are here just like that. And then this is our convention. We always do the major version like that. If you do a minor version, it gets updated in this charts repository, but like this is where we're at. Now, but that's already it. Now, in terms of changes here, we get rid of this. It's not a breaking change as such, but we do want to mention it. So we'll say use UBI 10 micro as a base Docker image. That sounds reasonable. So we'll say use UBI 10 micro as the base Docker image. And Docker is uppercase, I guess. And that's it. We just need a 779, so change this to 779. And also change it here. And now we can run this. So if I go git status here, you see it's there. To run this locally and test it out, you can look in the docs. I'll show you over here. The Trino Gateway documentation. Here has a contribute section. The contribute section of a documentation section, and that has commands on how to install what's needed and then run the serve. So in this case, mkdocs is our tool, and it's already installed for me here, ready to roll. So I can just go mkdocs serve, and this will fire up a local web server at this URL. So I can literally go in here, go paste this, and there it is. We can go to release net, and you see there is my release notes ready to roll. Right-hand side, navigation, files. These URLs obviously don't work just yet because, well, the release hasn't been happening yet. And then changes here, this link at least should work. So let's test that. Here we are. All right, that's it. So now what I need to do is I need to go in here. And, well, let's look at this one. That's the old pull request from the release notes for 16. I don't want to change this, obviously. And I can just look at the commit message here. It's just going to say add Trino 16 release notes. So I'm going to go do this. Add a new tab, git s, git add dot, git commit, -m. Add Trino 17 release notes, right? And we go git push. And that's it. So now we have the release notes PR updated. And you see if I go in here now, in the pull request that we changed before, now we have 2 commits, has a nice commit messages, ready to roll. And I have to look at the next one in the list, which is, let's go back over here to the list of changes. So this is nothing else. All these other changes here are not necessarily, like this is just a bunch of dependency updates, which sometimes have impact, but in this case, I don't think it has any impact. We're upgrading Java to 24.0.2. We are already on 24.0.0 or so that's not a significant enough update to mention that. So let's look at this PR from Star and Yuya together. And this is obviously a nice change, expose the Trino backend state via GMX. So let's add this here. So I'm going to go edit. And we're going to go, this was pull request 7. 782. Oops, no, it was also still here. 782 exposed to in the backend. Again, the documentation, like we should verify what was documented. Probably, unfortunately, not too much. If I go change this here to just go unified view, you see no documentation was updated. So arguably, we should flag this as like, well, didn't really update the documentation star. So how are people supposed to know about this? Looks like this. It's JMX. So it's kind of like a debatable thing. Should this be debated or not? And this also shows the status of the Trino cluster. So the Trino cluster is behind Trino Gateway. So I think this message is probably good, but we can negotiate that more as part of the pull request review, right? So, and again, we have to change this URL to the pull request for people that need more details. So it's 782. By the way, when we link to these pull requests, by default, we actually, if possible, link to any issues it fixes, but often it doesn't fix an issue, then we link to the pull request. If it's a change that links to an issue, you need to just be careful because the link is actually then not pull, it's like issue. But this is it. So git s, git diff, you see this is it, git add dot. Now, here's a trick. What we need to do now is we don't want to have more commits, right? Like we just want those 2 commits. So git commit -- amend will use the last commit and use the diff from that plus the diff from my new changes and basically do that and collapse them into one. That's what we have now. And I have to force push this now because otherwise the Git repository is gonna complain. And I also, so let's go check mark here, because the docs really would be like super minimal or non-existent. So I don't think we need to do more than that. Typically, like in Trino, we don't expose the JMX MB. Like we expose a whole bunch of JMX MBs, but we don't really document that either. So I'll update this comment. And you see here in the commits, or like actually the files changed here. You see there's 16, and then the release notes had this new section. So all comes along very nicely. And I can now go and move on to the next one, which is the PostgreSQL initialization 780. So let's go back here. Edit this again. This was also still on the 9th of October. So $780. Let's see if there was anything real important that got changed there in terms of like features for users. Centralize the creation of the PostgreSQL container, add a wait for the container, and yeah, Star also mentioned this is not user facing, and I tend to agree. This is just a nice improvement and stability improvement for local testing and also for the CI runs. So we can call this done. So I'm closing this, close this, close this, and we go to the fix cancel statement path redirection. So this is 776. And this is from the 24th of October, just making sure we're on the right track here again. Copying this in here. 776. And go over here. For a second, read this. Fix partially cancel URL path is of form. Yeah, this is probably a good enough error message. Oh, sorry, message. Just want to use code text, but I think this is otherwise good. So we'll add this here. And again, end of sentence dot, and pull request number was 776. And that's that. Close that. And again, next step, right? As usual, git s, git add dot, git commit, minus amend, right quit, git push as f. And I can update the comment here. The pull request is coming along. The file changes are coming along. And this is all looking pretty good, right? So if you look at the history, there's a few more to be done, 3 to be exact. But honestly, this is already what I wanted to show you. The next step for me would be I will let the other maintainers on the Trino project gateway Slack instance here. I'll show you this as well. Where's my Slack window now? So in Trino Gateway Slack, we have all sorts of challenge. Here we go. So we have the Trino Gateway channel, and then we have the Trino Gateway dev channel. This is where I would message, hey, this is like ready for review now. And then we'll see how we go. And you also see like here, there's, for example, a new PR, always worth looking what's coming on. And as you can see here, we are backlogged in terms of just reviewing emerging PRs. Some of them we're waiting for other changes. Others, we just have to get around to reviewing it. So if you want to help us, it would be super awesome. Actually, before I'll switch over here for a second. So you see the changes of all the pull requests here. And here's the channel, the Slack channel, Trino Gateway Dev and Trino Gateway on the Trino Slack. So again, reach out on Slack, help us, chime in on pull requests and send us pull requests. And I'm looking forward to hear more. I'm going to keep finishing off this pull request, push it out, and I'll see you in the next episode of Manfred Mentors. All right. Till then, whenever that may be.